got Mustafa with us. Mustafa Musaji is a pharmacist by profession, and he's helped us sort of set up the TPP Automate process for practices. So the LMC have commissioned Mustafa to set the process out, which we've shared with everyone, and then to sort of carry on sort of maintaining that. So if there's any changes at the lab or anything like that, we thought it'd be helpful to, since it sort of started a few months back, to bring practices together, for queries that they have, issues that they're having, and for practices that haven't started, to sort of come and have a little bit of a talk about what it actually does. Mustafa's going to run through the process today a little bit. He's found a clever way. I think we're going to trial that to see how we can actually go through it step by step. If there's any questions, please pop them into the chat, and we'll take it from there. So Mustafa, I'll hand over to you to start.
Thanks, Marine. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to see so many people interested in this. And I'm not sure how far you guys have got with setting these up. But the plan today was really to go through the basics of how to get started with this and to show you guys what you can actually do with this. So one of the great things about this is that it's free, it's already on your system. Whereas a lot of other providers are giving options on handling things, it doesn't give you the same level of control. And I think each practice handles pathology very differently. So this is really nice. It's quite easy to set up, and hopefully we can go through things. If there's any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I'll try to answer as many as I can as we go. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let's see if this works.
Apologies, guys. Sorry, I forgot to say we're recording the meeting just in case people who haven't been able to make it can use it. So just so that everybody's aware that the meeting is being recorded. Thanks.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So first thing about setting up the auto review engine is to go into setup, user and policy, organization preferences. And then if you scroll down to pathology, it's got its own section down here. And you just need to enable this and then restart your system one. And that's it. The auto review pathology rules will start working. The good thing is that all of them are disabled. So even if you click this box, it's not going to start working automatically. And then the next bit is where you select who is allowed to actually change these rules, add new rules, and delete rules. So I'd be very selective about who you allow into here, because once you have someone in here, they can make changes. And it's not always easy to tell who have made those changes. So it might be the clinical lead of the practice or one of your senior admin members who actually are making the changes that are being approved and monitored. So once you've done that, you can go on to setup, workflow support, and then you'll see this section come up. So if you click on that, it gives you all the rules that you have on your system, and then it tells you which ones are active and which ones aren't. So Ardens have already made quite a lot of rules, and they're kind of pre-populated, and they're already in your system, so you can start playing around with those if you want. But from experience, I found that they don't actually work very well for Leicester labs, and they are quite constrained in what pathology they actually deal with. So I have created a group of pathology that's customized for LLR and R labs, which I think has been sent out by the LMC already. And these are all down here. What I've done with those rules is I've just kept them very simple, just lab values, nothing customized. So then each practice can see how they want to customize things themselves. So I thought I'd first show you how to import a rule. So if you download the file from the LMC, you can go on to import rule set and navigate to the folder. You can only do one at a time, unfortunately, but I have tried labeling them all so you know which one corresponds to which. And then if you double click on it, that's it. It will pop up down here and it will be automatically disabled. So you will have to manually tick it as active. If it is inactive, you can still test it out. You can still see how it works, how the rule would function based on your pathology, but it won't be used in the actual filing of bloods. So that's how you import a rule set. I thought I'd show you how to make a rule set as well. So you just click on new rule set, you give it a name, and then you need to select a code for the rule set. Now this is where things become a bit tricky in that you need to find out what the actual read code is. So if you look here, each pathology is going to have a read code attached to it. And some of them, especially the kind of microscopy, will just have sample serology. So let's see. What I'm going to do now, I'll delete the HbA1c and then we can go through that whole process. So I'll show you how it's done. So one option is you can import rule set, go to the folder, go to HbA1c, and that's it. You'll see HbA1c popped up here. And you can see it's come up here, it's disabled and everything has already been set up. If you want to create it as a new rule, I'll show you how to do that as well. So let me just... so I've kept some results here that we can have a bit of a play around with. So the easiest way to do this is to already have pathology in your inbox of things that you want to create rules for. And then if you want to find the code, you can right click, go on display and text your message. And then it will tell you what the code is here. So what I tend to do is I copy this whole bit and then just pop it into Notepad for now. And then copy this code. So then we're going to setup, workflow support, pathology, new rule set, give it a title, and then we'll go for code. Search the code, press OK. So what this is essentially saying is this rule set will be applied to any code that comes with the one we've selected. Now what we need to do is to tell the engine what we actually want to happen with that code. So to do that, we'll add a new rule and we'll do normal for now. And this is where you can add clinical reports. So you can either make your own clinical reports or you can use pre-existing ones like Ardens and things. Where this becomes really helpful is if you want to differentiate between male and female, pregnant, not pregnant, children, anything that you either want to rule in or out, this works really well for. So one of the things I use this for is if there are any patients who already have a diagnosis of prediabetes and the HbA1c result is within the same pre-diabetic range, it's not gone up to diabetes yet, then I'll file the result as satisfactory because I'm never going to take any action on that. So if you click on this, it will show you all the reports that you have, and then you can select whichever one you want, and it will only use this report for people within the clinical search that you've given it.
Mustafa, just a quick one, sorry. You know, the screen as it's projecting, it's kind of half showing. Is there any way of making that a bit bigger? Even I'm struggling with my glasses. Apologies.
I can't make it any bigger, but I can make it more full.
Okay, amazing.
Reed, if you press Control and then use the wheel on your mouse, it'll make it bigger.
I know you can, but I'm just wondering for everybody else. I just thought if we make it bigger, then it shows everyone. But yeah, that's fine. Carry on. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. No worries. So what you can do as well is when you're creating your rules, you can take all the following apply or one of the following applies, and I'll show you when you differentiate between the two. But for now, we'll just do a simple normal result. So here we'll put the code in again to say this is the code we want to use. And then you can say what type of result we're looking at. So either that there's a code for it, there's a numeric range, there's a lab range, any textual entries, any comments, or whether it's there, we want to ignore it, or whether there's a textual result and it equals something. So there's different times to use all of these things. So a lot of the lab results like EGFR, for example, it will have two sections. It will have the actual result and then it will have comments as well. So I'll show you how to put those in as well. But if you don't put everything perfect on here, the rule will never work because it will always flag that something has come up in this result that it doesn't recognize. So for HbA1c, it's quite simple. We just put a lab range and we want it less than, we can use lab range lower bound, upper bound. So we'll go for upper bound for this one. Press OK. And then this is where we say what we want to happen if this works. So we'll say review status to apply, review not applicable, or review applicable required. If you put review required, it will not file it away, which means you will always see this result. So we leave it as not applicable because we want it to file it away. And then we can say what indicators we want to put. So we'll put normal there. And then you can select presets that you can automatically SMS the patient as well. So you can set it as your results are normal, there's no further action, or if you put that the review is required, then you can automatically send a SMS to the patient saying, please contact the surgery to discuss your results. The other thing we can do here is put a lab range and put between. So a lot of investigations would have a lower range and an high range, and they can change over time. And sometimes the lab changes it before they tell us that they've changed it. So what the system now does is it will automatically work out what is the lab range and whether this fits between it. So in that case, you can put the bottom figure as a lab range lower bound and the high one as the upper bound. And then anything that fits within that category will be automatically filed away. Any questions so far? No? Okay, good. We'll carry on.
So, sorry, Mustafa.
There-
We
yeah.
have got a few questions within the
Chat.
chat.
Yeah, sure. We can take them now, so we can answer it before I go on to the next bit.
So Nisha is asking, could we have the parameters for the UHL for the labs, please? I think you shared that already in the pack. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is in the pack. But also when you get the textual entry, it will tell you what the range is for the lab. So it will come up automatically there as well.
Okay, thank you. Is that all right, Nisha? Has that answered your question?
Yeah, that's fine. I think our clinicians wanted to have a look at the ranges. That's why, and when we shared the resources with the clinical lead, they were saying that they needed to see, they wanted to see what was coming in from the UHL as the ranges. And like you say, sometimes those ranges change.
Yeah.
But if those changes don't get notified to us, do we have a process to actually bring and highlight, when will they highlight that those path ranges have changed so we know we need to alter these results?
So yeah, so that's the process that we have with Mustafa. He's kind of maintaining that for UHL, and hopefully we've got a system in place whereby when changes happen in the lab, and we've had a few recently, haven't we, Mustafa, where the lab will be notifying all of us, so they'll let Mustafa know, they'll let me and Charlotte know as well, so that will again be shared with you to know that you need to change that particular range. I'm thinking about recently ferritin has changed, for example, from what was normal and what was abnormal. So we'll be keeping an eye on that for practices. And this is just UHL, not for the out of LLR labs. So for people that go to Peterborough or I don't know, Colville or whatever. So not what's the word, Coventry, whatever. So we're not in conversation with those labs. It's just UHL.
Yeah, I think one of the good things here is because you can set it as the lab range, you don't need to worry whether they change it or not, as long as it stays within them. there are some results that don't work. So then you have to put a numeric range in where you're manually putting in the figures. And that's where you need to be very careful if the lab change it, because your figures might have become abnormal.
Yeah, that's true. Nisha, come back here.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking it through. Sorry, I'm going in with my, my old hat, not practice hat at the moment. Would it not benefit having those searches that we've got with the lab ranges that bit in centrally? Could like how Ardens have published them? Would it not make sense to just centrally publish them, and then practices can copy and modify them to what they want in practice?
So I did find a way to publish them, but the problem is that if I publish them and then I change them, it will change for all practices across LLR. That's why I've created the template, but then you can manually import them all in so that they're still kind of run by you. Because, for example, CRP, normal lab range is less than 5. I might have it set at 9. Or full blood count, my MCV range might be very different to how you want it filed. So if I change it, it will change for all of you.
Yeah, I think we did think about that, didn't we? Which is why we left it to sort of discretion for you guys to do what you want, because each practice approaches things slightly differently, don't they? But yeah, that's sort of
No,
Manisha's, no worries. Manisha's an interesting question. Has there been any discussion with the labs to, 1, start using lab range lower upper bound for more pathology results? 2, start using read-coded globulin levels rather than free text. And then 3, have a standardized way of issuing results. Sometimes usernees, LFTs, bone profiles, etc. come split up. So there's a few of those kind of operational things.
No, I think we can definitely take that back to the labs. Normally, the reason they split some of the things is because they're in 2 places. So if you're looking at the ALP, it will come up in LFT, but if you request a bone profile, it will come in the bone profile. So the things that I've set up do mitigate that. So it'll be in both places, but yeah, it'd be great if they could just read code everything and standardize everything, but I'm not sure their processes will match that. So I have tried to mitigate that. So I've got a section just for EGFR. And then if you look at usernees, it's got all of them here. But what I've noticed is now a lot of usernees are coming with no EGFR. So then I need to create a new rule and then send it out to everyone to say, it's just for that. But the good thing is, just by using these without changing anything, about 70% of your pathology will be filed. So it's still helpful just in its basic form, but you can enhance it and get that number even higher.
And I'm just going to say, actually, Mustafa, coming to Manisha's question, we've got the lab guys coming to LMC board meeting in a couple of days' time. So if there's any specific ones that you want us to raise directly with them, we can do that as well to sort of try and get them to to make it more workable for all of us. So yeah, thank you.
Sure. Any more questions?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. So let's see. So I think that's essentially how you set things up, how you import things, how you can create new rules yourself. So if you find that there's a result that comes in a lot that you don't want to use my rule for, but you want to create your own rule, then it's quite easy, as I said, to actually identify what that result is, right click on it, display textual message, and then it will tell you exactly what's going on. So if I pull over another one. So once you've set up a rule, whether you've imported it or whether you've created your own one, the key thing is that you want to keep testing it to see what's working, what's not working, and how the engine is actually functioning. So what you can do is, once you apply the auto review rule, you can't apply it again. So when you're in testing phase for a rule, always just preview the auto review, because what you can do is you can preview it, go back, make some changes, test it again, rather than waiting for another result to come. So, sorry, I did that a bit quick, didn't I? Let's do that again. So if you want to see how your rules are going to work with this result, right click and preview auto review rules. And then it'll give you the option to select any of the rules that match this battery of tests. So the first one is, I've got one just for urine albumin, and Ardens have also got one. And it tells you which ones are active, which ones are inactive. So if you want to see how my rules are going to function with this result, then click on that. Same for the urine ACR. And then it will categorize them by each battery of tests. So here it's saying that the urine ACR has failed because it's not less than 3 and it's not unable to calculate ratio. So that tells me that this urine ACR is going to be raised. However, if we go through the other ones, urine PCR will also fail, protein will fail, albumin will fail, but creatinine will pass. So what this does is, even though you've got all these battery headers that you'd normally be filing individually, anyone out of those battery headers that is normal will still disappear. So sometimes you can have user-needs, full blood count, LFT, bone profile, all of them in one go. And ideally, especially with patients having access to all their records now, you need to file each one individually. If you find everything is abnormal, patients start panicking, thinking, you know, something seriously wrong, when actually it was just one battery header that was abnormal. So what this does is it gets rid of everything that can be safely filed away. And if I just have a look at this result, so I've not filed anything yet. But what we can see, let me just change my view. So what you can see here is urine ACR is raised. Creatinine is normal, so that would have disappeared. PCR is raised, protein level is raised, and albumin is raised as well. So one of the best things about this is you don't get the filing fatigue of just going through things that are just normal, trying to figure out which one is actually the result you need to look at. So if I disable that again, and then you can go back and we can preview the auto review rules. And this time we can try Ardens to see how that would have worked. And I'm sure Ardens would have done the same thing here. Creatinine is still passed, but the urine ACR has failed. So what it tells us here is it goes through which rule was it actually using. They've set up a report. So this will only include patients that are in the auto review ACR with no exclusion. So age, pregnancy, or if you've manually coded not for auto review, or if there's a significant trend in the last 2 years. And this has failed because it's not unknown or normal. So there is a really good safety feature here in that if things are bad, it won't go through. There's no way that things will slip through the net. It's all kind of programmed and has a really clear-cut algorithm in that even if one full stop is different to what you've told it, it will not go ahead. You will still have to look at that result. Essentially, that's it. So that's how you import the results. That's how you can set them up. And that's how you can test them. So it does seem quite straightforward, but it does take a while to go through each one. And I thought I'd show you ones that are slightly more complicated. So we've got the full blood count, so you can see it's a lot longer than if we just compare it to something similar like ferritin. So ferritin is just got, as long as it's between the lab range lower bound and lab range upper bound, it will get filed away. There's only one battery in this header, whereas if we look at full blood count, we've got the full blood count, total white blood count, red cell, all the other batteries within that. So if we look at how this gets set up, it's a lot more complicated, but it follows the same process. So you can see here, I've created one rule just for full blood count, and it can be ignored if present and empty. So when the results come from the lab, it puts full blood count as a battery, even though it doesn't have a result, there's no number to it, but the code is there. So if you don't tell the system what to do with that, then it will assume that this is something abnormal that you need to see. So you need to make sure that everything that we have copied here, every investigation has some sort of rule applied to it. And then you can go through here and I've just put all the codes and within the normal range. What you could do is, for example, the MCH level, you could have a much higher threshold. So you could say that we'll go for numeric range between, I'll just do it as an example, of 5 to 15, where the normal would be 14. So what that would do would be, if everything else is normal and the MCH is slightly out of range, we can still file that away. And that will be down to your clinicians about how they want to handle their results. As I said, everyone's got different thresholds, but what I've definitely noticed doing pathology for about 5 years now is there's a lot of repetition, especially in things that we don't need to take action on, and they're not really significant. So you'll see the basophils, the monocytes are always slightly low. It's not clinically significant, so we can just file them away safely. We're not taking action on these things. So I'm sure whoever at your practice does pathology a lot will know exactly which ones that they never take action on, and that's how you can adjust your rules. The other type is textual entries. So if we look at urine microscopy, I have two for urine microscopy, normal and abnormal. For urine microscopy, either way, I'm not going to take action through this result, because either it will come as normal and I don't need to worry about it, or it'll come as abnormal and that might be better. If it comes as abnormal, I'd still have to wait for the urine culture. But I can show you how this is actually set up. So there's two parts to the urine microscopy. One is a textual result, and the other part is whether the culture was performed or not. So I've asked it to look at these two bits to say, is there a result? And if it says culture not performed, I want you to file it as normal. Now, if you look at this, rather than putting a code, this comes as free text. And before, the lab just put it as UAS, urine microscopy. And then for some strange reason, they added this star at the end. And that meant the whole rule failed because it could never find this. This is one of the things that the lab didn't tell us about, but over time, when you start looking at it and you think, well, why am none of my urine microscopies filing? I found out they've just added this star. And this is where you would use the comment contains. So you can either use comment contains or comment equals, depending on what you want to do. So if it's something like globulins, for example, they always have the same kind of message for all globulin results. So there you can put that it equals. Whereas for me, just having this text is enough. So as long as the comment contains culture not performed, I'm happy for the system to find this as normal. What this also does is sometimes you have set your full blood count to certain ranges, but then at the top, they still put comments about the full blood count. If there are any comments, because we have set it to can be ignored if present and empty, if there is any code in there, even if everything else is normal, it will still flag up, so it will not auto-fire. So it's got a really good safety feature there as well. Any more questions?
So far, nothing at the minute, I think.
Okay, good. So if I just put my screen again, just gonna assign some pathology to myself, and then I can show you guys how it works in real life. So quite a normal inbox for a Monday morning. I have filed everything else because it was giving me a bit of anxiety leaving pathology. But I've put a few that should go through, that might go through, and ones that definitely won't go through. And if you see here, these two have already had the rules applied to them. So I can't apply the rules again. So they've already not gone through for whatever reason. And if you want to find out why they haven't gone through, we can right click, view auto review audit. If I move that over, and it will tell us. So it did find the full blood count. It failed the first instance because it's not a male. So I have different values for male and female, but it also failed the female. And it will tell you the patient did not meet criteria for a report. ACR female, no exclusions or significant trend. So automatically I know that there's something in this record that I need to look at. Whereas if we apply the auto review, let's do this one. So you right click, apply auto review rules. Close it, and you can see that result is now grayed out. It's gone through, it's filed. If I refresh it, it'll come off the screen. So it's as easy as that to set up. There's a lot of battery headers, but I think the majority of them I have gone through and set them all up. You can import them. Going to set up workflow support pathology results. You can bring them into your system, and then you can just right click amend, and then you can start playing around with them, changing the values. You can leave it inactive, so there's no risk of anyone accidentally applying it while you're playing around with it. And then you can change the values, see how it works, and adjust it for your practice needs. So one of the key ones that we changed how we do things is the bowel cancer screening. So before we used to contact everyone through the pathology if there was no response or non-engagement. Instead, what we've done is rather than me filing every single one individually and then sending a task to reception for them to contact the patient or sending a text message myself, we just run a monthly search, which makes it a lot easier because then it's done in one go. And I don't have to worry about my inbox being 3 figures all day because there's loads of bowel cancer just sitting there waiting. That's it really. Hopefully that's helpful. And hopefully some of you have already tried to set this up. And if you did have any questions, that's answered it. But if anyone does have any other questions, let me know.
I think David's raised his hand. Do you want to come in, David?
Yeah, thanks, Mustafa.
Hi, David.
One question, one comment. The question is, am I right you can only apply the auto file rules if the pathology results are assigned to you? You can't do it on all of the results in the practice, is that correct?
No, you can do it on all results in the practice.
Thanks, that's good. And then the second one is just a comment. When you're applying the auto file rules and it's working through, you can't do anything else on system 1 at the time. So just something probably for everyone to be aware, because as it's chugging along, if you're doing it to a large bulk of results, it can take a little while. So just something to bear in mind when you're doing it.
Maybe 130, 150 will take about 2-3 minutes, depending on how your system's feeling on the day. But yeah, generally you can't do anything else. But yeah, it doesn't take too long, 3 or 4 minutes, I think. Have you been using it, David?
Yeah, I've been having a play with the ones that you set up. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, it's working well. But yeah, it's just a comment that it's worth everyone on the call being aware of. That have your coffee at the same time. Don't do it if you're trying to do something else at exactly the same time.
Yeah, it's a good time to catch up on your emails.
Yes.
I was just going to come in with a comment on that, and actually that's quite helpful, David. But think about all the time you're saving while this is happening in a fair way. So I think it would be helpful to just hear from you how much time you think your clinicians have saved by being able to do this in this way, rather than sort of sitting there clicking the box. Yes, it's fine, because this is all done. So I'm sure we probably have absolutely. No, I think, but it's a really valid point, David, and I'm not taking it as a criticism, but I think just as a whole thing going forward, this is a really positive thing in terms of sort of time saved for clinicians. It'd be useful, like I think, Mustafa, because you've been doing it from day dot, if you have any kind of idea of how many hours you might have saved your clinicians, I guess, which means we'll all be working harder doing other stuff, but hey ho.
Yeah, of course, we're definitely not going for golf every day. I think there's 2 huge benefits. One is definitely time saving. So we're saving about 10 hours a week on pathology, where pathology used to take 1 whole session per day. It's now taking maybe an hour, if that. On some days, not even an hour. The other thing is you're really only seeing things that you want to see or need to see. And I think that makes a huge difference, because then you don't become disengaged with what you're doing, because it does happen when you're on pathology number 999 at 6 o'clock because the labs have sent it late. You will think, oh, which one was abnormal for this patient? Was it the LFT? Was it the bone profile? I've clicked through so many things, and then you'll go to file it and it will say, no, you've not reviewed everything. It gets rid of all of that. So if there's a result in front of you, it's because there's something wrong with this. Whether it's abnormal, but you're still okay with it, that's completely different. But it definitely puts you in that frame of mind of, this is something that I do need to look at, not something that I might need to look at, I might not need to look at. And the other key thing is that even though System 1 has always had the functionality for filing all results, action normal reports, even though it's had that, it didn't get rid of all the battery headers. So even if there was 1 battery header that was abnormal out of all these, you would still have to go through all of them. It would only go through where everything is normal or it's a single battery header. So you can still use that functionality as well. But the key thing is the reds and the blacks that go, that makes a huge difference. If we're just looking at this inbox, I think the only things I would be left with here are these. And even then, it wouldn't even be all of the creatinines, proteins, albumins. They would all go. Urine ACRs could go, so you could even set it as, even if the creatinine, protein, albumin are slightly abnormal, if the PCR and ACR are fine, I'm not worried about it. They can be filed.
And that, like you say, is really helpful, rather than having to keep clicking the box, even because in that bit about you've got 10 results and there's 1 abnormal, and by the time you've gone through it, you think, oh my God, somebody help.
Yeah,
so,
definitely
that's really
my
helpful.
RSI has improved massively from clicking. Fair
enough. So thank you for that. Do we have any other questions, guys? I think, Michelle, you've just asked about the package, and if you email Charlotte and anybody else that's not registered, yes, if you just email Charlotte at the LMC, we'll be able to share that with you. And we've got sort of digital leads from each practice that's doing it. So that's like a little group of being able to sort of keep people on top of what's going on, if there's any queries or anything like that. Yeah, no, same thing, Poonam. If you want to just email Charlotte, she'll be able to email you all the details of what needs, what you know, how you can set it up. So we'll be able to do that. Any other questions, anyone? Sounds like we'll have 20 minutes back. I don't think we have any, I can't see any hands up. So if we don't have any questions, then thank you, Mustafa. That's been extremely helpful. I'm sure everyone that's using it's probably feeling the same, and for those who haven't, and